Good morning, everybody. I'm sorry I didn't get to do a video on Friday, but my day just ended up too mental. It started really early and ended really late, so I apologise for that. Over the weekend, I spent a lot of time on working on a large announcement in the post-secondary area that is going to be made at the New Zealand First AGM and conference down in Dunedin this coming Saturday, so the 3rd. So I'm spending a lot of time on doing that. That took up most of my weekend. But I said that I would make some comment around Hekia Parata's announcement to shift funding from 18 to 21-year-old children with special needs or young people with special needs down into the ECE area. And remember, I'm trying to keep these videos short, so this is a sort of a synopsis of where New Zealand First thinking is going. First of all, let's recognise that early childhood education is not compulsory. So nobody is required to put their children into early childhood education at this stage in New Zealand. And secondly, so let's also recognise that those children with special needs, these are my dogs up behind me, the children with special needs are funded through a combination and supported through a combination of government departments, that being the Ministry of Health, the Ministry of Social Development and the Ministry of Education. So you've got three different government organisations who are supposed to be working together to support the families of children with special needs. And when I'm talking about children with special needs now, I am going to siphon off gifted and talented because one, I think they don't even factor in this equation at the moment, and that's a problem, so we'll be working on that. And secondly, they need a completely different set of support systems. So when I talk about children who need some learning support and have learning challenges, just for the moment set aside those children that actually need massive extension and an understanding of the fact that they think in some areas of their academic abilities or in some areas of their lives at such an incredibly higher level than their peers, but also in other areas are at the developmental age of their peers. So that's a whole nother conversation, and I don't think that conversation has taken on enough of a place with regard to government discussion. But one of the things that the inquiry recently that we held on dyslexia, dyspraxia and children on the autism spectrum, what became obvious is just a complete lack of connection between all of those departments when children are under school age. And one of the submitters came forward with an experience that she had had that she suggested we have a look at as a nation. Now, her experience was that during her early years, she went to the local town hall with her mum, and inside that town hall were all those people that do the standard tests that we have at the moment in ECE, and that's hearing and vision. But the suggestion was that it needed to be expanded. You know, if you had a child with developmental delay, if you needed to have some markers around dyslexia, dyspraxia, children on the autism spectrum, that there be those screening tools be available at that time. So the families and the children come to a central place. The specialists are all in the hall. And not only were they the standard sort of screening tools that were being used, if a child highlighted an area of special need, there were higher level professionals on the other side of the hall. So speech language therapists, for example. Right then and right there was a person that child and that parent could go over and talk to. So it was an instantaneous referral. Now, that's an idea. It's not far off what the Green Party's talking about with regard to hubs inside of schools, except that the hubs inside of schools still means that if you had a school with a hub in a rural area, that there's quite a lot of transport going on there for parents who may not be able to afford it. So it's an area that New Zealand First is going to be fleshing out a bit more based on that submission. And then, of course, it's all very well and good to have identification. The other part of that identification was for parents to be able to be believed when that they knew their child best and that this actually was something that was giving them concern. And to have it be believed and have it taken seriously, and to have screening tools used based off their concerns. And so again, it's all very well and good to have a child identified with a special need or a requirement for special support. Then what? So how do we better support the family and the child inside an early childhood education facility and also at home? So those are And really, where New Zealand First is reaching out to is we're reaching out to Finland to have a look at what Finland does. How do they afford that model? How do they better utilise that model? How do they provide equity funding no matter where you are in Finland? And we think that that's a smarter way to look at this. We certainly don't believe that you can rob Peter to pay Paulina. So there is no way that the special needs crisis that's going on can be addressed without more funding. How much more funding is the question, and that I'll go into tomorrow with regard to some of our commitments around OARS funding and so on. So these have become a 5-minute video now, almost 6-minute video, but I hope that just on that little piece of what is a much bigger picture, you've got a taste of where New Zealand First is thinking. Kia ora.